I'd like to ask you to silence your cell phones unless you're law enforcement or medical personnel. I'm Reverend Steve Adkins, the pastor of the church. And I'd like to have Julie light the candles, and she's getting ready to go on a trip. Please stand for the first hymn and remain standing for the invocation. Prayer first. Dear Father God, we give thanks for this moment in time. May we quiet our minds, quiet our hearts, and feel the closeness of your true presence here. May we feel the true peace and harmony that is brought by that closeness. May we be able to share that peace and harmony with those around us here today. And may we be changed from this moment forward by that intimate peace and harmony. Amen. The next portion is a reading by the pastor where I speak about something I've experienced the week before and try to put it into a spiritual perspective from a philosophy that I'm trying to embrace. I guess this past week's been pretty hurried for me. A lot of things occurring and a lot of frustration from work and home. And it just seems like, every time you think things are going to calm down, they get another step higher. It's a busy week already. It's the end of the business year where I work at, and everybody's trying to spend all their capital money in 8 weeks that it normally takes about a year to spend it in. So I'm the guy that has to get it all into projects and approved and bid and done. So Tuesday night I come home and my wife's carrying her dinner out on the back patio to see the sunset because the back patio faces west and it's all clear, beautiful fields with pastures. It's a real nice scene. And she slips and falls wearing her brand new Walmart flip-flops. So that tells pretty much the whole story. She did twist her knee pop completely out of the joint, looked really bad, and we realized a couple things at that point because all 5 dogs were out there eating their food and calling out. So there was no St. Bernard in any of those dogs. They weren't helpful at all. And I'm not 20 years old anymore and can pick my wife up off the ground. So we had a couple realizations there along a couple of things, and I told her, I said, well, we're going to have to work together to get you up. She's in her almost in a real close-up nightgown with nothing on underneath. So I said, we're going to have to either get you up or call the ambulance. Well, by God, I'm getting up. Trying to do like this. So he did manage to get her up and got her. She's a trooper. She runs the message service in Cassadaga. On the way there, her knees all turned back at an angle and all popped out of joint, looking really bad. And she says, well, maybe we'll just see what it's like in the morning. As I'm trying to get her in the car to go to the ER, and she says, well, maybe I'll be able to do the message service tomorrow night. I said, you need to call Janie and tell her you can't do the service. So she gets on the phone, she's telling Janie, I may or may not. I said, Janie, she's in shock. She's not going to be able to do the service today. So we get there, get her squared away. And the doctor was wonderful. I mean, you hear all these horror stories about how they trick you and snatch your limbs around and get them back into place. But he's sitting there talking to her and he says, straighten it out a little more. And he's just playing with it a little bit. And finally she goes, that hurt a little bit. He says, well, it's fixed. And he's just sitting there with his thumbs on his hands, just the most gentle touch that you could imagine. And he worked it right back into place with no jerk and snatch and turn your head or hold on to the bars or anything. It was a wonderful thing to watch. The guy was really compassionate. And I guess what I saw spiritually out of all this was I kept trying to not become frustrated, not become upset, because it was happening to my wife. It wasn't happening to me first off. and the things that happen at work are part of my job that I have agreed to do. So, you ask God for different things, and you don't always get them the way you'd like to get them. I like better health. It's not this wave of a magic wand where magically you're transformed from who you are now to perfect health. You start seeing all these books about how to eat right, how to cook right, how to start exercising. Well, I don't know if I got time. Then Planet Fitness comes up with $10 a month for a gym membership, and you can't say you can't afford it anymore. So you still have to take the steps. You still have to do the groundwork to get things done. And I guess part of not becoming frustrated is realizing that you're an eternal being, and this is just a passing moment in your life of eternity. That's how you know you're connecting in the Spirit. It's indicated by peace, and it's indicated by a sense of timing about what to do and when to do it. So the only way that you can avoid frustrations about daily life is to draw closer to God and feel that calmness, feel that connection to the eternal you. And it doesn't mean you don't have to still do things in the here and now. It means you don't have to be upset while you're doing them. You don't have to be aggravated while you're doing them. You can see the rightness to them. You can see your place in them and not more than your place. You don't have to feel like you're the one that's responsible for everything. You're the reason for everything. It becomes to put things into perspective where you play the part you're supposed to play in an overall play of events. So I would just say that when you're becoming frustrated, just take time to breathe rhythmically. Pay attention to your breath. Take control of your breath and just breathe rhythmically, not deep breathing like yoga, not chanting ohms or anything like that. Just take a moment. It's like your grandma used to tell you, take 10 deep breaths before you do anything when you're upset. And that's similar to this. Just breathe rhythmically and your body will calm itself. It'll calm itself, and then you have the opportunity to act properly. You're not going to act properly unless you choose to, but at least you'll have the opportunity to. God presents the opportunities, and you choose to act within the opportunities. So thank you for listening. The next portion of the service is contact spiritual healing. The way we do it now, we changed it a little bit. There's chairs up here, and there's also chairs in the back so that we can have a better flow. When you hear this during the meditation, that means the chairs become vacant, and it'll be one in the back there. So I'll move you along from there to get the healing. We'll also have a guided meditation from Ashkhen, so you can enjoy both of them during the service. I'd like to have Marty and Judy step up to do the healing today. And we'll begin the healing with saying the prayer for spiritual healing on the back, on the notes on hold. I ask the great unseen healing force to remove all obstructions from my mind and body and to restore me to perfect health. I ask this in all sincerity and honesty, and I will do my part. I ask this great unseen healing force to help both present and absent ones who are in need of help and to restore them to perfect health. I put my trust in the love and power of God.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's get ready for the meditation. Find a comfortable position to sit where there is no tension on your physical body. Take a few deep breaths. Breathe as comfortable as you can. The longer, the better. Breathe in and breathe out. Let go of the thoughts that are occupying your mind at this time. you have any worries, any concerns. With your exhale, just breathe it out. Let it go. Bring your focus and your awareness to your breath. Ask your mind to be quiet. Bring your focus back to your breath. Engage with the mechanism of your breath. As you breathe in and out, feel your breath. Try to listen to your breath. Feel your breath taking you deeper within yourself to a very peaceful and quiet place within. Connect to this peaceful presence while you breathe. Repeat to yourself quietly, I am at peace within and with my surroundings. I am at peace within and with my surroundings. While you breathe, feel the peaceful sensations flowing throughout your body. With your in-breath and exhale. Feel the motion of these peaceful sensations that are flowing from your head all the way to your toes. Feel the motion of this peaceful spirit. This is origin of your consciousness. You are meant to live with peace. Embrace this peaceful state of your consciousness and be still. Be still within. Breathe in and breathe out. It is in this peaceful consciousness that you feel wholeness and complete. Surrender to this peaceful presence. Become one. While you are breathing peacefully, feel these peaceful sensations rising your consciousness higher and higher, and connecting you with your higher self that is in a perfect, brilliant, golden light. Connect with this supreme presence. As you connect, you let go of the old structure of your human conditions. You let go of old thoughts that are based on fear, anger, judgment, and resentment. As you rise above all these, you sense the perfection of your consciousness as you become one with the Great Spirit, with the Creator, with the God in the highest most. Become aware of this presence. Become aware of the source of all knowing, the source of infinite power, infinite intelligence, the source of infinite potentials. Connect with this godly aspect of your consciousness. As you connect, you become, and you be. Connect to this heightened state of awareness. Feel the shift in your consciousness, where your perception is widened as you look at yourself from above. You see the whole picture. You see the wholeness of your spirit. You are a universal being. You are multidimensional being. You are infinite. You are pure and perfect. There are no boundaries, no limitations to your great spirit. Feel the sensations of the freedom within you and the power of the creation that is within. As you surrender to the will of God, You are able to create your realities. You have the power to create. You have the power to heal. Have faith in yourself. Believe in yourself. With God, all things are possible. Surrender to the will of God. Let thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Allow God's will to manifest and materialize while you are in your physical realities. Allow God to guide you and lead you with your ventures, with your work, with your actions and interactions. Let it be of the highest good, highest good of yourself and others. Unleash the universal creative power that is within. Create your vision for a peaceful and harmonious earth. Let your consciousness create a shift in the consciousness of your surroundings. Be an instrument for light. Be an instrument for peace. And be an example of love. Stand tall in your divinity and let your light shine brightly. You are the light of God that never fails. You are the love of God that never ends. Embrace your divinity, your infinity. Embrace your truth. It is in this quietness that you hear your inner voice, the voice of I am that is within, the voice of God that speaks through your intuition. God the omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. I am all that I am. Connect with His presence and become aware of that voice. I am. I am infinite. I am pure and perfect. I am all that I am. Feel the vibrations of your I am presence coming down to your physical body. Feel your breath bringing you back to your physical senses. Integrate all this light and the vibrations into your physical reality, to the here and now, to this room, to the chair that you're sitting in. Become aware of your physical senses. When you're ready, you can open your eyes.
The next portion of the service is the inspirational lecture. And today we have Reverend Jonella Bachman returning. She has, I've known Jonella for, I guess, 10 or 15 years, something like that. Known her from Cassadaga, plus they've run their own business a number of times in different aspects. Jonella has developed a personal skill about dwelling in possibilities. She's married, has twin sons, a granddaughter, and is a 2-time cancer survivor, state-certified building contractor. Breaking into the men's trades there.
It's all right, I'm next.
He's also past area governor of Toastmasters International and has owned her own businesses for 34 years. She's an author, a certified medium, and an inspirational speaker. Please welcome Reverend Jonella Bachman.
Get all my loot up here, so we don't have to worry about all of that. Okay. I'm fine. Oh, you want me to talk more?
I'm just going to watch the sound of it.
Okay, that's just fine.
We just have to, anywhere we go, we have to learn all of the little parts that work and what puts it together before we really settle in. I love the smiles. Thank you so much. I've got friends now here. This is exciting when I come here. Hang on to your hats. Broken collarbone, tonsillectomy, fallen arches, spinal sclerosis, cancer twice, chemotherapy twice, radiation, congestive heart failure twice, broken wrist, high blood pressure, hysterectomy, foot surgery, kidney stones, bursitis, heart attack, shots in the eye, series of 7 so far, candidate for knee replacements, general aches and pains. And today we're going to talk about it's not how many times you fall down, it's how many times you get up. How many of you have seen the comedy, the movie, Death Becomes Her? Death Becomes Her is hilarious. It's, for those of you that haven't seen that movie, it's about 2 women that find a way, the short version, that find a way to go take a potion that will make them be young forever, young and beautiful. They're very vain. And these 2 women, one of them is divorced from, and one of them is married to, the same plastic surgeon. And for a long time, he takes care of both of them. But when they find this magic potion, they think, oh, we can't lose our plastic surgeon. We have to make him take the potion too. When he refuses to both take the potion and work on them anymore, they have no choice. They have to kill him. And it's all downhill from then. And the really funny part becomes, as they do indeed age, like it or not, they sound like Steve's wife. Their feet are on backwards and their head is turned around and their body parts are falling off, and so they end up taking care of each other through to the end of their worn days by helping each other's body parts be in order. And so when they go any place, then they have to make sure that each of them are together and that they're taking good care of each other. I tell you this because sometimes, to be honest with you, and I can tell from your reaction, that sometimes when I'm with my girlfriends, or sometimes when I'm facing another thing in life, all of a sudden I feel like I'm going to be one of those women. And we're just going to come to the end of our days, and we're just going to be putting each other back together, and it's just going to be hilarious. The list I shared with you when I opened was not to bring you down, or by any means, of course, to make you feel sorry for me. What it was to have you hear that God has a reason for everything. And God has a way of helping us deal with whatever comes at us. It's an exciting gift that we've been granted in this lifetime. It's a choice. A choice. All of that medical list that we just talked about, it wasn't just medical. If any of you have had any medical in your life, you know that all of a sudden it also is a financial challenge. And it just keeps going. And that list didn't have anything to do with all of the things that were handed to me in a childhood, or in an adult life, or in a business situation, or in just regular day-to-day walk and my journey. It was only the beginning of this one little person. But through all of the heartbreak and all of the joy, my point is we can choose to move on. We have to remember to make that choice sometimes. Sometimes it just doesn't come automatically. We have to remember that life can not only be okay again, but life can be better than we ever dreamed it could be. I've learned in life there are a few things that never go away. The power to hope, the possibility to create, and the gift to love and be loved. I believe there probably is not anyone here that hasn't at some point in your world, even if it was like my 5-year-old little granddaughter can so vividly help me know that it's the end of her world if something doesn't happen. All of us have felt that pain. And we may feel it again in our lifetime. But somehow, some way, we're able to just climb right back up. Sometimes it's only for an hour that we find a way to climb up. But then all of a sudden, in that hour, we can discover that sure enough, if it can last for an hour, then maybe, just maybe, it can last for a day or a week, and so on. And somehow, the sun will shine again. I always say if we don't get a little rain in our life, that we don't know how to appreciate that sunshine so much. I'm generally a really positive person. That's just how I'm made. When life annoys me, I just spit and sputter a little bit. Well, sometimes not just a little bit. And sometimes it's a little loud, just ask my David. But he'll be kind, I know, when he tells you the truth. But I always get over it. If I can just spit it out, I'll get over it. I'll be okay. Often in my journey, I run into these people that don't have a clue about my life, didn't watch my life develop. And then all of a sudden, that they're trying to tell me their troubles, and they don't have a clue that I can understand how they can be so lost or broken. They just think that surely my life never could have been a half-empty glass. So what I'm telling you here is the encouragement I'm giving you today may not be easy. I'm not pretending it's easy to get back up. But what I am telling you is it's possible. It's not easy. Look again at my list. That's why I started with that list. So you could hear that I do hear you. I understand. It doesn't matter if it's easy. And it doesn't matter what you're facing. Your list is your list. It's not my list. I've always said that it doesn't matter the most ill person in the world and the person with the hangnail. They all have their own mountains. And those mountains are the same size. I believe that it doesn't matter what your list is. Your list is your value and what makes you the woman or the man that you are today. I feel like I've tasted all. I haven't. There's always somebody out there that has more. But if you choose to endure, God will use you in ways that sitting here today, no matter what your age is, no matter what your reflection or your perspective is, God will use you in ways that you can't even imagine. I personally feel like I've been collecting experiences in life so I can touch people. And now I'm 60-something. All of a sudden, I'd like to think it's time for me to stop collecting experiences. Probably not. But I do know now that all of a sudden God is starting to use me in ways to touch other people and lives that was so far beyond my vision of my life. I'm honored. Your life is meant to be special. Not in the skin of somebody that in a little 20-minute segment standing in front of you, all cheery and dressed in blue, tells you it is. But in your own precious, creative way. Your life is meant to be special. We learn and teach each other every time we interact. Sometimes we don't always appreciate the person that we meet. It's easy when we come to church. We appreciate the people that walk in the door. We appreciate the fact that they are doing the best they can to seek for their own journey. But when we get out there in the big world, it's not always as easy. It's easier out there to criticize and not to build them up. The person on the road that just cut you off, or the person in the grocery store. And life is busy too. Life is busy. I can guarantee you there are people in this room that if we stood face to face and I started talking to you about my stories, eventually you'd get bored with my stories. And I believe the reason is because we have to think about our own electric bill and think about our own home and think about our own children. Life is just automatically busy. We only have time in life to interact so much with people. And the rest of us, we have to grab these little tidbits that we think will help us with our journey, and we have to treasure them. But everyone in here can teach us something. We've learned that from the time we were a child, and we've learned as we went along that it's truth. There's something, each of you, if I take the time and give you my ear and really listen. One of my favorite books in life is Are You Listening to Me? And it's about how much we don't listen to each other, that we're face to face, but we're not always listening to them. I thought for a moment I'd share some of my ways of coping with life as it comes at you. I don't think life is complicated unless you complicate it. First, I always remember there's someone else out there with a bigger problem than mine. Always. That's pretty much across the board. Health, finances, house, the belongings, talent, knowledge, and I know there's a lot more eloquent speakers. I've heard them. But in all ways, someone always is there that has more. And there's always someone there that has less. Second, I choose to encourage the people that walk into my path. My theory is I need joy around me. Sometimes it's that selfish. Sometimes it's not that I really just believe I need to cheer you up. But sometimes it's that if I take a minute just to cheer you up, you might reciprocate. And I can guarantee you when that nurse was coming at me time after time after time through more than one chemotherapy with that IV needle, if I could make her smile, that was more value to me than anything that was going to happen that day. Third, I was fortunate enough to learn as a young child, through very unfortunate circumstances, that the universe is going to take care of me. And it didn't mean I was so wild and wonderful. It just meant that there's something bigger than me, that God had a design for me, that I didn't even have to worry about what everything else was coming at me. I didn't have to worry about any of that. I didn't have to worry about the people that were around me, if I liked them, or if they were nice to me, or if they weren't nice to me. I learned there was something bigger than that that I could just hang on to. And I learned that from the time I was 3 and 5 and 13, and it never let me fall down. God taught me way back then that tomorrow, I promise, the sun will shine again. We all know we're supposed to be encouraging to children. That's an easy one. Well, sometimes it's not as easy as others. But the knowledge of that is an easy one. We know that it does take a village if we're in front of a child, that we need to encourage them and do the best we can to help that child on its journey. But when we become adults, that's a little trickier, isn't it? It's tricky because once you're an adult, we all believe that each of us knows how to run our own life. And I'm not talking about this at an angle of being sure that you give everybody advice. What I am talking about is be available to each other. It's easy sometimes when we come to church, like I said before, or when we're in relay. That's easy to encourage each adult. But it gets a little trickier as we go through our daily walk of life. The older we get, the more we realize that we really don't know all the parts. It's necessary to seek others and to get their advice or their direction or how they do that. David and I recently have joined 2 leads groups. And we joined a mastermind. We helped create a mastermind group. We finally gave in and shed that part of us that stood proud and helped people think that we knew how to do it. And in our construction business, it was interesting because we went for years, and we are one. We are one. We're building houses. We know how to do that. We have customers. We know about banks. We know how to do that. So often as adults, we get lost in this place where if it looks like we're supposed to know those parts and have that knowledge, we surely don't want anyone to see our ignorance. And ignorance doesn't mean you're stupid. It means you just don't know yet. And you don't know what you don't know. That's the tricky part. We might take a course, or we might hand choose very carefully 1 or 2 people that can help us along our journey. But for the most part, once we're adults and once we're in that career and once we've learned all the parts we think we needed to learn, we don't venture out from that. We hope it'll just poof there and that it'll just fall in our lap. What we need to know what next. It doesn't happen that way. My mother, I used to always say that my mother did the best she could, but she just didn't know all the parts. Now, when my mother crossed over, I was 24 years old. 24 years old. Bill Cosby says you're brain dead till you're 29. So I certainly was 29 for another 5 years when my mother crossed over. And what I've learned is that none of us know all the parts. That we are all together one big puzzle. And each of us is just one little baby part of that puzzle. When we had our shop in Palm Coast, we closed this February, and when we had our shop, we decided early on that our job was just to encourage people. And when they walked through our door, the only rule we had for our location was walk through our doors and believe what you choose to believe. Learn what you can. Take with you what you choose. Leave the rest behind. And don't put it on someone else. That's all we were about. We were about each of us walking our own journey. You have a right to walk your journey, not someone else's. If someone else's looks good to you and you want to try it for a while, we all have that right too. You can pick and choose from each other what feels good and what they've learned and how to use it for your own life. Other people can contribute to you. Let them. But what I want to encourage you to do today is to open your heart to the possibilities that are there. Give of you when you can. Remember that your weaknesses and your failures in life might be the parts that someone else needs to complete their journey. It's easy to show off our strengths, but when we get vulnerable, sometimes it hurts. I suggest that you pour your wishes on the platform. Let them fall where they may. Remember, when you're building a building, that the foundation is the important part, really. And if you allow others to help you reinforce your foundation, then they can help you with all of the parts that come above that foundation. Diane Davis, one of all of our favorites. Diane Davis is one of our dear mentors. And she says, start from where you are. So if you look at your foundation, no matter what age you are, if you look at your foundation and you find that it has cracks in your foundation, it's okay. Some of the rebar and welded wire mesh might have been left out. Those are big words from my contractor days. Did you like that?
I followed.
But they might have left those parts out. Count on each other to fortify your foundation. And then from that point, start building in your personal life that God had planned for you always. Dream is one of my favorite words. And dream big if you choose to dream big. I have a friend, and I'll never forget her saying to me, "But your dreams are so big." And at first I was crushed, like, oh yeah, she's right about that. But then all of a sudden I said, she's right about that. My dreams are big. And my grandma taught me a long time ago that reach for the stars, you'll get to the moon. It doesn't matter how big my dreams are. I'm going to get somewhere if I just have the oomph to just dream. No matter how many times you fall down, no matter what your challenges are along the way, always, always choose to get up again. Somehow, the strength will come. Somehow, the path will open. And somehow, the visions will start to flow. Most of all, hold each other up. You're special, but you're more special with each other beside you. Learn from each other and know you are capable of miracles.